This is the Three Skeevers podcast.
All right, episode 9 of the Three Skeevers podcast with Grim from Grimsforge Gaming and myself, Icy, with Icyfire Gaming. How you doing, Grim?
Good. How are you?
I am doing okay. I am really excited for the Markarth drop on November 2nd, I want to say. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, right around the corner.
Yeah, not even, I think less than 10 days at this point. So that's going to be really exciting. So today's podcast episode, we're going to be talking about leveling down in the Imperial City, which includes the sewers. And I will let you take us off, Grim.
Yeah, so I had mentioned this in some other videos before that I level almost all my characters in a PvP atmosphere, and I really like to level my characters down in Imperial City, and it'll be down in the sewers, up in the districts, things like that. But Icy's kind of taken that same approach as well, right? Like since we've met, there's been next to no PvE leveling.
Yes, aside from the PvE that you experienced down in the sewers, specifically, killing all of the Daedra, yeah, no, it's just been straight leveling down in a PvP zone. Yeah.
Yeah, the EXP down there is underrated, and for me, I find it's pretty exciting for me to do PvE with the potential of PvP, you know?
Hmm.
And so anyways, I've had multiple people ask me, "Hey, what's that look like?" or how do you do that? And I'd say, so as soon as you hit level 10, you can head down there to the sewers. And so what I'll do is I'll make sure that I have gear made for me every 10 levels. Level 10, I'll have purple gear, not the jewelry. The jewelry is usually white or green, but I'll have gear waiting for me at level 10, 20, 30, 40. And then, when you hit CP, you'll hopefully have end game gear, decided on what you're going to run with. But at least level 10, 20, 30, and 40. And by doing that, you've got fresh gear waiting for you, because there is a thing for low level stat scaling. If you're in purple gear and you're a low level character, your stats are going to be really high, like ridiculously high. Your weapon damage, your spell damage, your recoveries, your max stats, and everything higher than what you should expect in game in that same armor setup. And it's different for different classes and different armor sets, but it's in between like the level 30 to level 50. It's in between 30 and when you hit CP that the low level scaling starts to equalize. And you'll notice around level 30 to level 50 that your stats will become less, your weapon damage will become less, or spell damage, and everything starts to come in line with what that armor set would look like if you were wearing it in game. And this is just one of those things that I know to be true because I've done this over 60 times with different characters. And people will be like, why the hell would you do that? And I just had a conversation yesterday with somebody. And for me, it's not about the end game. I've got enough characters at end game. I have one of every class at end game, of both stamina and magicka. It's more for me about the journey. And to train people in PvP, I want to know what it's like to be a DK playing a specific style of gameplay, and at what point is there a curve for them? At what point do they become very strong because this ability becomes available? And so for every class, that's just kind of the journey that I wanted to take on. Also, I like the maturation process, learning that way. There are classes that if I weren't good at them, I would start playing that class and becoming better at that class through low levels. And so anyways, what I like to do is have the gear set up, and generally how the gear is set up, my kids are upstairs wrestling or something, but I don't know if you guys can hear that.
Oh yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah, and it's the dog's going crazy and like the
Yeah.
girls are wrestling. So oh my gosh. Anyways, with the gear, I like to have it set up to where my jewelry, I have 3 pieces of jewelry, and my helm and my shoulders are all 1 5-piece, and then my other armor pieces are a second 5-piece, and then my weapons are I'm hitting the 2-piece bonus on the weapons. Okay. And by doing that, you can hit 2 5-piece bonuses and you can hit a 2-piece bonus on your weapons, and you can kind of mix and match the different armor sets and get exactly what you're trying to aim for. Now, I can tell you, if you already have an idea of what armor sets that you want to wear in the game, okay, like let's say you want to wear Sheer Venom and Venomous Smite end game, those armor sets have no max stats in them. Those armor sets have no recoveries in them. If you want to do yourself a favor, make sure that you're leveling in similar gear, gear that doesn't have recoveries in it, gear that doesn't have resistances in it, gear that doesn't have max stats in it. So that way you get a true feel for what it's going to feel like as your low level scaling starts falling off. You'll get a really good picture of what it's going to feel like before you even hit CP. And you might even come to the realization like, man, this isn't even viable, or, like this is just really hard. And I'm going to really rely on Sheer Venom and Venomous Smite's proc sets to carry me. I'm really going to rely on those. So I would say that's some advice, but creativity, it'll allow you to mix and match different armor sets and try new setups, and that's pretty cool. But you want to make sure that before you go down there, you have your armor crafted. At least, I'm on level 10 armor, and I don't have to craft my level 20 until I hit 20, or I can have it ready to go and in my inventory, whatever you choose. But before you go to the sewers, here's a checklist. Number 1, make sure you have your Mundus stone. I've made this mistake a lot, and I think Icy has too.
Every single time.
Yeah, you get, it's like, heck yeah, woot, hit level 10, let's go PvP, and then you don't pick up a Mundus. So make sure you grab a Mundus. Make sure that you have food. And food kind of falls into the same category as your gear sets. If you're going to be using Bewitched Sugar Skulls at end game, you might as well use Bewitched Sugar Skulls through the leveling process. So you get a feel for what max stats with no recoveries and some extra health recovery, what that feels like. If you're going to be using Lavafoot, Soup, and Sultress, try and find a food that offers you similar, things. And another thing that you want to do before you go to the sewers to start leveling is grab your fighter and mages guild. And this one's an easy one to forget to do, but it's very important because everything for the most part down in Imperial City Sewers and the districts is Daedra, and you can hit level 10 in your fighter guild very quickly just by killing mobs and leveling down there. You'll most likely hit level 10 before you even hit CP in your fighter guild, and that's great, especially if you plan on using Dawnbreaker or Camo Hunter, for your abilities. So, or whatever fighter guild abilities for that matter. And that's an easy one to forget. And Icy just found out a couple days ago that if you do forget to do that and you spend a significant amount of time down there and then you realize I didn't start those and you go pick up those quests, what happened with that, Icy?
So for the Mages Guild, any sort of book that you pick up, it will still level up your Mages Guild once you start the quest line. But for the Fighters Guild, if I've leveled like Tune from 1 to 50 and it's took me several days and you're killing a lot of Daedra throughout that process, and then you just realize to start your Fighters Guild, all of those kills that you got over that time period will not carry over, and you'll be starting at level 1 with your Fighters Guild. So try to remember to always pick those 2 skill lines up before you start leveling down there.
Yeah. And so make sure you got your gear. Make sure that you start your Fighters Guild and Mages Guild. Make sure that you have food that complements what you're trying to do with the build. And make sure you have your Mundus Stone. And as long as you have those things, then you're good to go. I can tell you, if you are a stamina character and you need access to Vigor also, the very first place you can go is go to Cyrodiil. And they have an option to where if you want to do like an introductory quest thing to Cyrodiil, where they'll send you over to train on they'll teach you how to use the siege and stuff like that, and they'll send you to talk to some people. Or you could bypass that and just go talk to the general or commander or whatever, and you'll be granted, AP, and you will have completed your first like Cyrodiil quest. Just by completing that first quest, you'll have access to Vigor. And so you could have Vigor on your bar before going into your very first BG now, or before going into your very first sewer or districts outing in Imperial City. So that's great. That's definitely a quality of life increase. We were always joking in the past, we'll be in low level BGs and standing next to a guy that's half dead, and we're like looking at him like, you gonna heal, bro? And he looks over at you and says, no Vigor.
Yeah.
So happens all the time. Well, now you can get Vigor right out the gate. Another thing too, before you go down to the sewers, not to make your list too big, but we're giving you things that will give you a significant advantage, is if you go to where the BG quests are given, your Battlegrounds quest givers, okay, for whatever faction you are, locate those before you go to Imperial City. Start the quest line, because for me, I always do my daily BG, bare minimum, because it's a lot of EXP, and it'll also kind of give you a good feel for where you're at in the moment with the build and with everything, like how you stack up against other people in the same boat for the most part. And that's always fun. But go start that quest. But right next to the quest giver is going to be a merchant. And if you talk to that merchant, she will sell some health potions, some stamina potions, and some magicka potions. But if you look at those stamina and magicka potions, they also have major brutality and major prophecy, or sorcery, sorry, attached to them. So the magic ones have major sorcery and the stamina ones have major brutality. So at level 10, you gain major brutality. And because we were talking about that weird low level scaling superpower type thing, it's not just plus 20% on the major brutality. Like when you first pick those up at level 10, I think it reads like plus 26% damage output. So it's pretty significant. You could be a level 10 and have access to major brutality or major sorcery. So always go and pick those up. And I can tell you right now, to buy those, you'll need AP. So if you've got alliance points already to spend, go ahead and go stop by your banker, throw some AP on your new tune, then go talk to them so you can purchase those potions. But they're a difference maker. An extra 26% damage output, 20% when scaling falls off, but that's a lot of extra damage. So, and in my battlegrounds, like the low level teasers that I do videos, I get a lot of people who are like, how in the hell are you getting such high weapon damage? Well, it has to do with the 2 specific sets that I'm running, and it also has to do with the fact that I have access to a 20% or 26% major brutality in my potions, so that's how I'm hitting 6100 weapon damage on the Hulk when he was low level. And so that's a nice little trick, but I always take enough alliance points that I try and aim to have 75 of those potions on me at all times. Now here's the deal: 75 potions might get me from level 10 to level 15. And then at level 15, if you revisit that merchant, there's level 15 potions available. If you revisit her at level 20, there's level 20 potions. And so I always upgrade my potions, like sell the ones. I don't want to buy too many, and I also don't want to run out. But figuring out that sweet spot, so you don't have a lot of excess that you sell and you just lost AP on. But anyways, every 5 levels, pick up more of those potions, and they're super valuable. And I'll level off of those potions almost exclusively. I do carry around the tripod potions that you get for quest rewards and stuff. If I'm in a pinch and I'm not worried about my spell or weapon damage, I just need to get resources, I'll use those. But did you know about that vendor, Icy?
I did not. This is new information to me.
Yeah. So low level, right at level 10, go talk to that person and pick those up, and they're super powerful.
Mhm.
And so once you get those potions and you got your gear ready to go, you got your Mundus, you got your food, you got your Fighters Guild and your Mages Guild, you're ready to start leveling. And you'll go to the sewers, and you can do the initial quest when you get down there, and that'll give you a good jump. You might even get a level or two of EXP when you do that. And things to notice. Let's talk about which sewer to go to. CP versus no CP. What's your take on this first, Icy?
Did you? Oh, before we jump into that, could I go over my gear preferences real quick?
Oh, yeah.
So, I know you were saying earlier when when you're leveling down here, it's a good idea to try to have gear that's going to be very similar to what you're going to be running end game.
Yeah. And you might not always know that too. So,
Right. So what I like to do is I just have default gear that I will run on all my characters no matter what. And for me, I use Shacklebreaker and New Moon as my two 5-piece sets, and I usually run those on my body pieces and jewelry. And then my 2-piece, my third gear set, which will just be a 2-piece, I'll be using Stoons. And this gear set I use on either Magicka or Stamina characters because they have parts that will affect both your Magicka and Stamina, weapon damage, and spell damage. And Stoons, as a 2-piece, its first line, or its the 2-line item says increase your weapon and spell damage by X amount. I think it's like 129 or whatever. So that's what I run on all my characters. And I think you said that you create gear levels 10, 20, 30, and 40.
mhm.
Did you want to talk about or just get into the specifics of that testing that we did with if you have everything all the same level or value? So say if you're running all purples, including the jewelry, you can actually extend that drop off rate to maybe level 24 or 25 where it's not as bad. Because
Yeah.
I think that's important to know. Sorry, I'll let you talk about the results, and then I'll share what I do
Yeah.
specifically.
So what we found is, like, if you make purple gear, I can tell you that right around level 8, you start feeling a drop off. You'll notice that your weapon damage or spell damage will go down every time you level. Your overall stats will go down, your recoveries and everything every time you level. But it's right
And
around level.
and when you say level 8, we're talking we're running level 10 gear at level 10, and then once you get to level 18, so 8
Yeah,
levels after the
yeah.
baseline. Yep.
Once you have 8 levels in to a specific gear, so by the time you hit 18 wearing that level 10 gear, you'll start feeling it. Yeah, you'll feel that your weapon damage, things will be dying a little slower. If you were to run into a player, it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a tougher fight. If they ran into you right out the gate, let's not say level 10, because at level 10, I don't think you're going to the sewers you don't even have access to your second bar, and you don't have access to your final form, like what abilities and rotation and everything. But if
Mhm.
they run into you at level 30 and you had fresh level 30 gear on, you have a high chance of mopping them because of that low level scaling. They're trying to put damage in you, and a lot of people complain about it. You know, they're like freaking low level scaling, blah blah blah, and it's like, get good, bro.
Yeah,
By a
yeah,
lobby, you know.
yeah.
But yeah, so what we found is this, and you can find other documents or other reports out there on this, but white gear degrades quicker. So the stats on white gear degrades quicker than the stats on purple gear. So you can wear purple gear longer than you can wear white gear. Okay. Also, let's say you're wearing a 5-piece, and let's say it's the 5-piece that you've got the 3 jewelry, and you decide to keep your jewelry white, and then you're running with the helm and shoulders, and you're making those purple. The way armor works is it's going to take a balance of all of those, or an average quality value, we'll say. And so if you got 3 whites and 2 purples, then that's going to be somewhere. And when by the time it averages out, your overall stats for that 5-piece are going to be in the blue range, if that makes sense. And so this is where you kind of have to decide, do I invest a serious amount of money into having, if I've got a lot of character slots, or this is what I do, I plan on just leveling characters over and over. It's not about the end game, it's about the journey, you know, then I'm going to invest a significant amount of money into my jewelry. They're not going to be white, they're going to be blue or purple, you know, and I want to be statistically an absolute beast that steps onto the battlefield. A demigod has stepped onto the battlefield. And so that's one of the things we found out, is you'll have less degrading of stats the higher quality your armor is.
Yes. And with that, so you're running usually purple gear for your body pieces and weapons, and then you'll have, did you say green or blue jewelry?
Yeah, I'll normally go green or blue.
Okay.
If I know that I'm going to be chaining a bunch of BGs off, and trying to get footage, I'll probably go blue jewelry. So half of it might be stats, and then the other half of it might just be, you know, you just put on your brand new Nikes, you know, as you go to play basketball. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. So with all purple setup and then we'll say blue jewelry, that'll last you about 10 levels safely before, once you get to level 10, it'll be a hard drop off. What I do personally, I have all my gear golded out. So we're talking level 10 gear golded out. Okay, I spent the tempering alloys, dreg wax, all that stuff. And this will actually get me, except for my jewelry. I do have purple jewelry. I didn't want to spend over 1 million for level 10 jewelry, okay? But gold gear, gold weapons, purple jewelry, that'll get me to level 26.
yeah,
Okay? And then I do the same thing at level 26, gold gear, gold weapons, purple jewelry. That'll get me to level 40, and then I ride that out to 50. So now Grim would have about, I think it's 7 body pieces plus 3 jewelry is 10 plus whatever weapons. So we'll say usually 13 items per level. So 13 times 4 is what, 26, 39, 52 item slots for 4 sets of gear, and I'm only using up 39 about 39 item slots for gear. So then now that allows me to obviously just save more space. And we're just talking in terms of storage for your bank or whatever sort of coffer you might have. I know I actually have a coffer that just says leveling tunes, and I have all my leveling gear at 10, 26, and 40. But I could almost I could almost say that if I had everything golded out, I could just have 2 sets of training gear, one at level 10, one at level 30, 100% all golded out, and I'd be okay. I'd be able to make it, those extra 4 levels from 26 to 30 and not be hit as hard as the drop off. Or the drop off would be equivalent to level 20 with only 10 gear, but having things at a much lower value.
yeah.
So,
And the purpose of that would be to get to end game quick. If you're going to put training on the gear, you're racing through the journey to get to end game, because that's where there's a lot of people that say, well, the game doesn't start until you're in game, you
mhm.
know. And because I have so many characters already at end game and geared, I want to go back and enjoy the journey. And so that's what I do, is the leveling process. But yeah, the drop off on gear, you can, how many levels do you get out of your gear as long as it's gold, you think? 20, 25?
With my setup, with everything gold except for my jewelry being
15?
purple, that gets me an extra 6 levels.
Yeah, so 16 levels. You can level 16 levels before it becomes kind of unbearable and not worth running that gear anymore. Time to run the next. And so those are all important things to know how to handle your gear. I do think that Shackle Breaker New Moon is one of the best combos for leveling. A lot of my videos are done in that. And then I have some extreme videos where I run Clever Alchemist and New Moon together when I want to hit 6k weapon damage or spell damage for like Hulk Smash or whatever. But for the most part, I almost used to always level in Shackle Breaker New Moon. Now, another thing too is, let's say you know that in game you're going to be a medium armor wearer. And I would recommend maybe you're going to do a 5-1-1 or a 5-2. So you're going to have 5 medium and 1 heavy and 1 light, because you know that you're going to have undaunted passives or whatever. But for PvP purposes, I would do a 5-2, 5 medium, 2 heavy. But while I'm leveling, one of the most, I'll say the 2 most important medium armor passives. The first one's going to be the second passive down that gives you stamina regen. Okay. But the most important one is going to be the agility passive, which is second to bottom. And it takes quite a while to get to that one. You don't see an increase in weapon damage wearing medium armor until you start unlocking that agility passive. So you might as well be wearing heavy. You might as well wear 5 heavy, 2 medium. And what'll happen is by the time you hit right around level 30, just by wearing 2 medium armor pieces, you'll level your medium armor up high enough to where agility passive becomes available. And then at that point, around level 30, you could decide, do I want to stay 5 heavy, 2 medium, or do I want to go 5 medium, 2 heavy and start really investing into the weapon damage? You know, so between level 30 to 50, your weapon damage starts coming online. Your resistances become less. Your crit value goes up if you're a stamina wearer. And for Magicka, I would say, as far as light armor goes, if you know end game you're going to be a 5 light armor or a 7 light, you're a sorcerer, you don't care about heavy armor or whatever. Even on my sorcerer, I do 5 light, 2 heavy, just because I like the first 3 heavy armor passives. They help you be a beefier sorcerer, but you might as well level those characters in a 5 heavy, 2 light scenario. If you're going to be leveling in the sewers, there's a likelihood that you're going to run into another player at some point. They're going to try and gank you or whatever. And a lot of people find the mechanics of the banners and the mechanics of the bosses down there difficult. So even if you're a light armor wearer, you might as well be running heavy, 5 heavy, 2 light, until you get to a point like around level 30 or so that your ability bars start representing more of like what you're going to be when you grow up. And it makes sense to jump to, you now have your armor bonus, your armor buff. You know what I mean? If you don't have access to your armor buff in some classes, like a Templars, Stamplars, and Magplars, they don't get their armor buff until one of the very last passives that you unlock, or one of the last abilities, I mean, in one of their trees. And so that's crazy. They don't have an armor buff until late. You know, you might as well be running heavy. You might as well be running heavy for a while until you get that unlocked. It's just the way it is, you know. And so that's something I take into account, is what I should be wearing. What did you make your gear, your gold gear, Icy? Do you remember?
So, since I have all my gear set up as a one-time thing, I don't plan on making any more training gear. Everything is set up as heavy, 5 heavy, 2 light. I've got training gear on everything. I run max stamina chance with robust jewelry and stamina recovery. So even on my Magicka tunes, they still run this setup because I'll be putting 64 points in the Magicka while I'm leveling. My Mundus will be Magicka recovery or anything Magicka based. So then I'm getting my stuff that I need there. But also having the high stamina allows me to sprint all the time. It allows me to break free, roll dodge, that type of thing. So I kind of like having it with, I guess it really just comes down to personal preference. But to me, if and the reason why I chose having all these stamina bonuses on my gears because if I'm on a stamina character and I have Magicka bonuses, max Magicka with Magicka recovery and the arcane trait, if I'm on a stamina class and I don't have any Magicka abilities, what the heck's the point of that?
Yeah.
No matter what type of class you are, stamina will always be of value to you. But I think there's some tunes, like say a stamina necromancer, your only magic ability is going to come from beckoning armor or something like that, which only costs what 3k magicka, and that's it. And I have a 30k magicka pool. Doesn't really make too much sense there. So
Right. And a lot of your classes that you're leveling are support based, which means most of their abilities are block cast capable, which means you're going to need a bigger stamina pool and some stamina regen. So,
yeah, so for me, no matter what type of resource based class I'm using, I'm good on either way.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now that we got the gear all situated, let's talk about how I use battlegrounds. If you're going to be doing your daily battlegrounds, I think it's important to do your daily battlegrounds and start that process early at low levels. The reason being is low level battlegrounds are a lot more forgiving because most of your opponents won't have full gear sets. They might not have any just random stuff they picked up. They are not their final form, so they don't have abilities on their bar that they might be using otherwise. And so, because of that, you're running into a situation versus other low level characters that aren't able to line their burst up properly or don't have the gear stats that you will have going in there. Like, I don't know how many low level it I see if you and I were playing against each other in a low level BG and we didn't know each other and you felt like I was hitting you really hard and you messaged me and you said, "What is my weapon damage?" and I said 6200. Would you like that's almost unbelievable, right?
Yeah, I
6200 and you're freaking level 12? What?
yeah, knowing what I know now, I would easily be able to understand, but I without the knowledge I have, I assume you were hacking or cheating and I would have submitted a report right then and there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so here I am on Hulk Smash running around with 6,100 weapon damage, when Clever's up and everything's procced and just chunking on people, you know?
And
And
and the funny part is about that, obviously with the knowledge I have now, when people normally make training gear, they just say, "Hey, can somebody just make me regular training gear?" And they just go to a crafting station that doesn't have any set bonuses, and
yeah,
then there you go, you're done. So
yeah,
it is what it is. But you can actually make end game gear for a lower level, and you're gonna be flying through the battlefield.
yeah, yeah. Make your
So
life easier, if you're going to do your dailies. But if you're going into BGs and using them as a learning tool to get better at PvP, you might as well be running 2 5-piece sets and a 2-piece set on your weapons, like we talked about. But you can develop so many good tactics in your daily battlegrounds that will help you with your adventuring in the sewers too. How to fight outnumbered, how to fight 1v1. And a common thing that I run into is I always ask people, how are your nerves? As soon as combat begins, how are your nerves? Are you fumbling through hitting buttons? Do you get rattled a little bit? Do you feel your pulse quicken? These are very common things. These are actually common things that I run into in combat sports too. This happens for athletes, happens for fighters, and we just have to subject them to, while doing it safely, but we need to subject them to whatever that pressure point is or whatever that thing is that puts them in that mindset over and over again, and kind of numb that response to where it's it's not that it's not exhilarating, but they can put all of that to the side and they can function efficiently. And so the same thing that happens with combat sports and real fighting, that same mental mindset is applied to training people in PvP. And so I would say just kind of dueling regularly and finding good people to duel with, that aren't going to crush you just ridiculously over and over again. That's not helping you. That's hurting you, and feeding their ego. So you need to be dueling with people that understand how to bring you along for the ride. But these are all things that through the course of just leveling in the sewers, you should be pursuing if you want to be good at PvP and you want to increase the likelihood that those random encounters that you have with players go your way. These are all baby steps or things that you need to be doing. So do you remember that time frame, Icy, for you, like when you first, because I have a funny story. Not too long ago, we're running the sewers and running into people and he's literally falling asleep, and it wasn't always that way. He's literally, we're outside a room and there's like, I don't know, maybe 10, I don't remember if it was DC or AD, but there's like 10 DC in the next room.
Was that the
And
one with Papa was here with us?
I think it was Yumi and because Papa flanked them.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think there were about 10
you
10
said,
DC. Yeah, 10
you
DC.
you asked Papa, you said, how do you feel about flanking him? And he goes, yeah, I'll do that. So he ran all the way through the sewers and he was en route to flank them and come in on the other side. And so I'm going through my checklist. Food's good, potions are good, whatever. And I'm like, you ready, Icy? And you're like, oh, I'm already in here.
Yeah.
He was already in amongst all 10 of them, fighting and drawing attention or whatever. And then Papa and I just come in from two different sides of the room and it was just like game over. So, but do you remember when the nerves weren't like that though?
It's kind of hard to say because even now the nerves hit me sometimes, but I think it was even just 2 days ago when we were fighting that EP Nightblade when we were leveling our people on DC side. My
Yeah.
nerves were still going a little bit crazy, but just because I think it starts to once the battlefield gets a little chaotic because we introduced a banner into the fight to help us kill this 810 CP guy while we're still level 20, 25 or whatever. And then the banner's here putting more pressure on all of us. And then he got you. And then now I'm running for my life trying to survive and I'm being chased all around the sewers and stuff. So my heart's beating like crazy and all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't happen all the time as much as it did in the beginning. Cause I remember that feeling all the time whenever a player showed up and I can hear my heartbeat like in my head or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, by the way, I don't remember the name of that EP Nightblade, but I'm on a level 18 character. My gear is about 8 levels outdated. He kills me. I'm on a level 18 character. He kills me and then teabags me. And I will find you. I will find you. Just so you know. Anyways, I'm playing over on DC just so I can find that guy. So,
yeah. Um, that's all I got for that. The nerves still hit me, and I'm not sure when. It was just kind of gradual, where the more the maturation process, where you put more time into it, and then they just slowly wither away, and you don't even notice the fear that you had before.
yeah, that's such an important time frame, I think, for all of that. What happens is after those nerves are a little bit subsided, you're not fumbling through buttons or whatever, then I think things become a little bit more clear. You start noticing non-performance a little bit more
Yeah,
during that time frame.
Absolutely, yeah. And I know now, even when it's kind of funny because I guess the more experience you have with something, then you see things at a much slower. Well, uh, I guess you're seeing it at a slower rate or faster rate. It appears slower to you because you can see everything that's going on. So I always think that's pretty fascinating. Even when we have these banner fights, obviously we fought the fire banner hundreds of times at this point, so I know almost everything he's going to do. You can fight a banner without taking any damage, that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so that applies both to combat sports and in game too. You were talking about it kind of slowing down a little bit.
Hmm.
Let's say if I don't know how many people have actually stood at the plate when somebody's thrown 100-mile-per-hour fastball, right? That's super fast. Do you think you could hit 100-mile-per-hour fastball? I don't think I could.
I think if I was at bat, I think I would just like drop the
Yeah,
bat and just like, oh crap, don't hit me, please.
yeah. Wouldn't even know. You just hear the slap and it's the ball in the mitt. The catcher had already caught it.
And then I'm at that point, I drop the bat and be like, oh crap, I don't want to be out here, man.
Yeah,
Jesus.
at the highest level though, the guys that they're able to see the laces on the ball, they're able to tell you, like it just time and everything slows down. Same for boxing and kickboxing. If you've never done boxing or kickboxing before, as punches are coming into you, they come in very quickly and you flinch a lot, you cover up, you inadvertently close your eyes as strikes are coming in. And then after a while, those punches seem to start to slow down a little bit and you start reading the telegraph. You can see the shoulder move a little bit. You can see the weight transfer as the strike's coming in, and you start to be able to not worry about flinching, not worry about the actual contact. You actually start reacting. So just a simple slip to the side or a simple bob and weave or a simple defensive move with your hand and like a parry or wasp lick. And so it's the same way in the game. Things start to slow down the more you see it. And that's why I think subjecting yourself to battlegrounds and doing your dailies along this road and dueling with the right people along the way make those random encounters so much more enjoyable. So there's just a maturation process to it, right?
Hmm.
So at some point you're going to have to decide whether you want to do CP Imperial City or no CP Imperial City. I can tell you that no CP Imperial City is absolutely brutal. And here's why. If you take into account, like I spend all my time on CP Imperial City, and I have, I'm capped out at 810 CP. I think I have like 1200, 1300 CP or something. I don't know. But I'm at 810 CP. If at 810 CP, these banner bosses and regular bosses are hitting me hard, what do you think they're going to do if I lose all my champion points and I go into no CP? Like, it's rough. It's really rough. And I don't know what their intentions were with no CP versus CP. Now, you can do builds, like a no CP build is set up with high recoveries, like whatever you're building for in battlegrounds with recoveries and able to stay in the fights, that might do a little better in no CP Imperial City. But for the most part, you might as well just go to CP Imperial City. Even if you're only CP 50, that's 50 more CP or 50 more points that will make you just a little bit stronger versus those mobs versus no CP. Now the only time that I think you should bounce back and forth between should I be in CP or no CP is if you keep going into no CP or you keep going into CP, sorry, and there's just hunters out there. There's, say you're an EP player and DC and AD are just sitting at your door killing everyone that comes out, well then maybe check out no CP at that point. Like, that's where you want to be. You want to be in Imperial City leveling, and you just simply can't do it. But what's your thoughts on that? I see the CP versus no CP.
Yeah, I agree. I personally hate no CP. Everything hits harder. It feels like you do no damage, and if it takes you about a minute to kill a banner, it's going to take you about 5 minutes to kill a banner. It just feels forever, and everything feels incredibly slow there. So I know when I was leveling Lyra, my Mandalorian, back in earlier 2020, I think we kept bouncing between CP and no CP, and it was at that point I realized, am I doing less damage down here? Am I taking more damage? Why are things so much harder to do in no CP? So ever since then, I have not been back, and I don't plan on ever going back.
Right.
I hate no CP so much. Oh Lord.
Yeah. Until next patch notes come out and they're like, oh, by the way, we're getting rid of CP Imperial City and we're changing it to no CP.
Oh my goodness. That's not even funny to laugh at.
I hope that doesn't happen.
Oh no. Oh Lord.
Might sounds awesome.
Smite sounds good. Yeah.
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 So while you're down in Imperial City, let's talk about the levels of Imperial City first, just so you can understand where you should probably go for leveling first. So, and what we're talking about is the sewers versus the districts. And each faction has its own base. And at your base, you can travel from your base through an intricate sewer system to the middle, where each faction has an intricate sewer system that travels, and they all collide or come together at the middle circle where Moloch Ball can be spawned by killing portals and stuff. And the way I like to view it is this, and I have had this conversation with people before, but the sewers is a great starting point to go level, because there are days where you might not have any encounter with another enemy player, a player character, and you're just farming EXP, farming key fragments, which we'll talk about, and farming Telvar, and getting drops or loot from creatures. So you're making money. Like, all these things equate to you making money in the game while you're leveling, and that's great. And so because the sewers could potentially function that way, it makes it the easiest to step into a PvP environment. You might run into one person or two people along the way, but for the most part, it was just you versus the environment, right? And you're just leveling along as you go. And for me, I like that. That's exciting. The potential of combat versus another player while I'm leveling or while I'm trying to make money.
Mhm.
And that's the baseline for what sewers could be. You could treat sewers a little differently, and the next step up, like level 2, is you're a player hunter in the sewers. And those are probably the people that come knocking looking for you when you're leveling. But player hunters, they aren't so much worried about killing the bosses or the banners as much as they are finding other players and killing them. And there's not a lot of those out, but I can tell you this, your mindset or your mentality should be that if you are in your sewer system, you're between your base and the middle Moloch Ball. If you see an enemy player, someone with a different colored chevron than you, they're in the wrong neighborhood. They're not there to make friends. And you should, more times than not, don't try and not fight them. Don't let them go. I've had scenarios where I've let someone go because I thought I was being a good guy, and this is a true story which I've told before, but I was on my Blackbeard Magicka Night or Magicka DK, and I ran into a low level person leveling, maybe level 30 or whatever, and when I didn't outright attack them at the start, but I went up on them like to startle them or whatever, because I thought that was funny. And they just stood there staring at me, and I stood there staring at them. And then I did like this nod or bow or whatever, and I just went into the next room and started gathering up mobs. And as I have all these creatures on me and I'm killing them all, that low level character comes in the room and drops a meteor on me and kills me. And I can tell you this, low-level characters grow up to be big-level characters. So if you see a lowbie, just kill them like everyone else if they're in your neighborhood. And for the most part, there shouldn't be any mercy. And if you follow that mindset, don't worry about their name. Don't worry about who they are. If they're in the wrong neighborhood, just kill them. Okay. That's a great mindset to have. And for this game,
I was gonna say you should.
it's like, holy crap, Grim Savage.
Yeah. Oh Lord.
Yeah. If you're down in the sewers, though, you run into an enemy player, shoot first, ask questions later. Okay.
Yeah.
And but so that's your first two levels. Your first level is I'm just going to kill all the bosses, all the banners, and just kill the mobs, farm Telvar that way, and the random people that we come across, we'll kill them. Second level is I'm going to player hunt. You know, they're out there collecting my Telvar. They don't know it, but we're going to go gather my Telvar from them, you know, and that's how they make money and their level of enjoyment. And those people generally will be in the enemy sewers, you know, their area or their side. So now there are sky shards and there are lore books and there are achievements for killing bosses in the sewers and killing all the banners. Don't try and justify or reason why this person is in your neighborhood when you're playing Imperial City in the sewers. If they're a low level person, don't say to yourself, oh, well, they're just here for sky shards. They are until they drop a meteor on you. You know, they are until they grow up, you know, they hit CP and then now they think it's okay to come back over to your side. And so I think you need to protect your area, protect your sewers, and keep the enemy factions out of there. So but the third stage is going up to the districts. And when you get to the districts, you'll run into the more coordinated groups. You'll run into people that understand how to ult dump. They're geared appropriately. They're capturing the districts and they're getting the bonuses from the districts or killing world bosses. If you own the districts, you get a plus 33% to Telvar gains. And so they'll capture the districts, kill all newcomers or anyone that comes to try and fight, and they'll go around killing the world bosses. And there's a significant amount of Telvar that can be made by just dominating the districts and killing world bosses and just making a loop around every district, you know, either clockwise or counterclockwise. And so that would be level 3. That's the sweaty level. You know, we're going to run into some serious PvPers and we're going to have to hang. And so if you're just starting the level sewers, I'd say don't go up to the districts. You know, do yourself a favor and start in the sewers. If you're looking for fights, you can get fights. Don't level in your sewers, EP side or DC side. Go level in the enemy's sewers. You're probably going to run into someone, you know, and a lot of people you find out don't even travel outside of the starting area of their sewers because there's like zones, like 3 zones in before you get to the middle. And a lot of really fresh PvPers or people to the area will just come to the first zone and just keep clearing it and running a loop over and over again. And so if you're looking for fights, but also not trying to get too sweaty going up top, just go level in the other sewers. So,
You know, it's kind of funny because obviously we've seen a lot of new players, and I even remember myself when I would go down there in our early days when you weren't there. I would just do loops right there. I'd do one loop, go back, bank, come back out, do another loop, bank. And just looking at, you know, over the last 10 months, whatever, that's probably the most dangerous position to stay in, because each first zone on all 3 bases, the ladders from the districts are both in those zones where
mhm,
enemy players are always dropping down looking for people to fight. So if anything, you'd be safer in the next zone after the first zone
absolutely.
to do your
And
to
the
do your
best
loop.
leveling areas are in the second wing as well for all
Mhm.
3 factions. So
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of interesting how
yeah,
you see majority of players just farming the first loop, and then that's where you see majority of the player kills as well. I think because people just like to hunt in those areas looking for newbies and stuff.
yeah. Yeah, so that's the sewers versus districts. Start out in the sewers and maybe just be a level ones, PvPer down there killing mobs and the random people you run into. Then try and be a level 2, which is you're a player hunter. You're going to go to the enemy side of the sewers and look for players and, going to pick a fight, go do that. And then the level 3 is maybe you're running with a group of friends and you want to see what you guys can do. Go up top and figure it out.
Hmm.
Um, you had talked about banking. I think that if there were 2 of the most important advices to give for people, one of them would be what the very first advice would be how to bank your Telvar. You just go up to the banker, you hit deposit currency, and then you can actually hit the little down arrow and scroll and choose Telvar, and you can deposit your Telvar. I personally, if you're not dying often, at least keep 1,000 Telvar on you. 1,000 Telvar will put you at the 3 times modifier amount, and you'll gain 3 times the amount of Telvar as you're killing mobs. That's if you're not dying a lot. If you keep running into people over and over again, and they're killing you or whatever, maybe you want to bank more regularly. And so go to the banker and deposit your Telvar. Bare minimum, though, try and keep 100 on you, because 100 Telvar on you puts you at the 1 times modifier. So you're at least making more Telvar per kill, and it starts growing really quickly. But for me, I like to keep 1,000 Telvar on me. That'll put me at the 3 times modifier, and I grow Telvar very quickly. If you're running Imperial Physique armor set, it requires 10k Telvar to get the 5-piece bonus. So you'll just need that 10k Telvar on you to get all those additional stats, and you're at the 4 times modifier then. But 3 times modifier is very nice, and you can make a lot of Telvar along the way. The second thing Icy will tell you that we see this all the time, and that's how to get out of the sewers.
And you don't.
You don't. You live there forever.
I still have not seen my parents.
Yeah. How many times do we see people in zone chat? How the heck do we get out of this place?
Oh man, countless times.
Yeah. And it's pretty simple. If you want to get out of the sewers, the same way that you go into the sewers, like there's a doorway that says sewer entrance or whatever, it's usually right when you zone in, you're going to be in this room. And one doorway will lead you into the sewers. And if you pull up your map, you'll know which door that is. The opposite door leads you out of the sewers. And if you go through that door, wherever you were at when you first zoned into the sewers, that's where you'll go back to. So that's where your exit's at. Your exit is right across from the sewer entrance door, unless there is a little side door. If you're standing at the little side door, that's different. But
I
so
think I think if you look on the map, there might be an arrow that points there, but I think people need the word exit. I think that's what they
on the map,
need on the
yeah,
map. Yeah, yeah.
totally, yeah. Um, let's talk about different currency types down in the sewers. So the first one is Telvar, we talked about, and you get that from killing mobs. If you were a player and you were killed, you lose half your Telvar. If you kill another player, you gain half their Telvar. And if you're in a group of people, then it's divided amongst everybody and so on. But
And you
uh,
also get alliance points as well
you
when you
get
kill
alliance
players.
points as well. And you get alliance points when you capture a district too. So that's good to know. And I believe that you get what's the bonus for capturing the districts?
Continuous attack.
Continuous attack. Thank you. And but as far as currency types, so you get Telvar, you make gold, and you'll get a lot of random drops from mobs. So when you go down there, make sure you have plenty of empty bag space. But as you're killing mobs, you're going to get these intricates, I think they're called, or
Ornates are the gold ones.
ornates, yeah. That you'll get a lot of intricates and ornates. But anyways, they'll sell anywhere from like 80 to 288 gold a piece at the vendor. And so if you've got 50 slots of ornates or intricates or whatever, like you can make. I was with a guy that had full bag space, and he made over 10K gold in one 30-minute run that we were going around killing things and people. And he come back and sold all the crap in his bag, and he had 10K gold just from that. He was like, holy cow, So
Yeah, that's just with. I think if I emptied out everything, and that leaves me with about maybe 30 inventory that I have on my person before we leave out there, at a 210 bag space, that's at least 170, 180 items that you can collect out in the sewers. And then now that you're selling, oh man, yeah. I think I usually average whenever we go out there, yeah, 5, 10K.
Yeah. Another currency or another thing that you'll pick up along the way is called key fragments. And the key fragments are used to create keys for White Gold Tower or Imperial City Prison. Just inside those dungeons, there's a trophy vault. And the key frags are converted to trophy vault keys that you open. And you'll get 2 random purple items from that dungeon, and it's complete RNG what those items could be. But if you need sheer venom, or if you need spell power cure, or you need whatever these different armor sets that drop from those dungeons, the key frags are your way to access those. You can sell a stack of key frags. A stack is 200 key fragments. You can sell those right now, I think, for 38,000 gold a piece. And you get key fragments almost from every creature that you kill. So getting a full stack of key frags is not very hard at all. Selling it for 38 gold, pretty easy. And with your Telvar, take your Telvar. There's going to be a Telvar general merchant down there in the sewers. Go to the Telvar general merchant and just purchase the Hacky Joe. It's an enchanting glyph, or rune, I should say. It's an enchanting rune that's used most notably for the prismatic defensive, prismatic tri-stat enchants for armor, or the onslaught offensive, enchant for weapons. Okay, you can use that Hacky Joe for either of those. But those roughly sell for 16K a piece. And for me, I sell 3 together. I sell them in groups of 3 for 50K. And so you get enough Telvar to purchase one Hacky Joe as 5K Telvar. And you come across Telvar, I think I might have around 170, 200K Telvar saved up. So it's about time for me to start purchasing those and selling them at my guild trader. But so you make a lot of money selling key frags. You make a lot of money selling the Hacky Joe rune. And another thing that you could do is, all the way at the bottom of the Telvar general merchant is a apothecary's parcel bag that has a bunch of enchanting regents in it. And so you might open one of those and find 6 Columbine, 6 Bug Loss, 6 whatever. Or there might be 2 Columbine, 2 Bug Loss, 2, and like several, but 2 of them. And so instead of wandering around, just random zones, picking random flowers, just go down there and drop your Telvar and just get tons and tons of enchanting regents right there. And so you can sell those enchanting regents. I don't know what the going rate on Columbine for a stack of 200 is, but it's up there, so you could sell those and make money.
Yeah, I've got some PvEer friends that do that after the IC event that was in early September.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were just buying those apothecary bags and just going crazy with the alchemy ingredients and stuff.
Yeah, there's some armor sets down there too that you can use your Telvar to purchase, and the armor sets sell pretty well on the guild traders as well. And so you could pull up like Shield Breaker and see what the going rates for Shield Breaker items are. You could pull up Phoenix. You could pull up Harbinger. Everybody's like in a Harbinger kick right now. Let's run Harbingers. It's funny watching people kill themselves trying to attack me. But those armor sets sell really well right now, so you could always go that route as well.
Oh, I even bought one of those. I'm not sure if it's a motif, but those Zivakin,
Zifkin, yeah.
Zivkin, yeah, I think it was a rune box or something. It cost it cost about 250k Telvar. I
Mm-hmm.
bought one of those just to see what would happen, and I sold it for about 800k.
Yeah,
Yeah, between 800 and 750k, somewhere around there. It might have been like 770 or something like that after taxes. But yeah, it didn't sell immediately. It did sell after a couple days, but that was a nice chunk of cash that I got in my mail a couple days later. So that was pretty sweet.
right. Yeah, and so those Zifkin motifs down there sell really well as well. And then, so you have multiple ways that you could potentially make money down there in the sewers, and that's all a byproduct of just being down there and leveling, right? If your initial reason for going down there is EXP and leveling your character, and maybe the potential excitement of running into another player, like I make between 1 million to 2 million gold a week down there when I'm in my leveling mode. I'm down there leveling somebody, and I'm not trying to burn through levels. I'm just down there leveling and or playing. But between 1 million to 2 million gold is what I expect to make down there, and so that's pretty good. Um, some of the best ways to make EXP down there are going to be portals. There's going to be these portals that the Daedra come out of, or they're standing guard at, and if you kill the portal and then hit the little key at the end of it, you'll get a big boost of EXP. So make sure you're on whatever bar, your front bar or back bar, and that'll be the bar that you get the EXP for if you're trying to level abilities and stuff or unlock abilities. That's smart. And then the other thing is chests. There's a lot of chests down there that have Telvar and a bunch of random goodies in them. Make sure you buff up before you unlock a chest, and make sure that you position yourself to where you can see the doors as you're opening the chest. So the deal is when you're unlocking the chest, you'll lose field of vision, but after you successfully pick the lock and you're looking at the whatever's in there, you can actually see a little bit in front of you. You have a little bit of field of vision. And so if you saw someone come around the corner, you can hit escape and disengage from the chest and start fighting. And so always position yourself to where you can see ahead of you. And Icy has a really cool ledger main video that shows you how to level your ledger main, and he takes virtually no time opening chests. He just pops them open and then on to the next. So
Yeah, I can make sure we have that in the description below for anybody interested in maxing out their ledger domain to relatively quickly, and so you can just get that force lock passive to 100%.
yeah. Now when you're running into
Oh, I will say though, since we're talking about the leveling process, you will. I'm trying to think, what's the best way. Well, usually when I'm leveling down here, I am doing them one at a time. But after we hit CP and stuff like that, then I'll level up Ledger Domain on its own. So yeah, because I think I've never really noticed if I get XP once we're CP from chests. You probably still do.
yeah, you get EXP for sure popping chests open as you're leveling.
With Force Lock though,
I don't know about with force lock. I've
I
never done it before. I'm not as cool as you.
yeah, right. I'm one of the only locksmiths in Tamriel, but
Yeah.
honestly, I don't think. Oh, okay, hold on. I'm confusing lockpicking, like experience in general, versus the lockpicking XP tree. If you force a lock open, you will not gain lockpicking experience. but you will gain regular experience. Okay. That's all I got. You keep going.
I don't open the chests too, by the way. This has come up a couple times in the last day or two. But the only time I open the chests is when I'm down there solo, because it's about the Telvar gain. And for me, when I'm solo, unless I'm hunting somebody. If I'm down there with a purpose, then I run past all of that. I'm on my way to find that person. So, but if I'm just out there milling around or whatever, I actually use a chest. But if I'm ever partied up or grouped up with anyone, they can have all the chests. I don't really care about it when I'm in a group, and I just kind of watch their back. And more times than not, too, when I'm in a group with someone, it might be a training scenario or something like that, and they need the additional Telvar that they gain. And because they're dying every once in a while to banners or dying to whatever it is, and so that additional Telvar from the chests help kind of bridge the gap, and so I don't have a problem giving those up. But yeah, so the chests are pretty cool, and there's another way to make money inside those chests is called the motifs. And so depending on if you're Ebonheart Pact, Aldmeri Dominion, or Daggerfall Covenant, you will get unique motifs to your faction. And so for that reason, it's kind of worth it to have at least one of every faction that you kind of play around with in the sewer and get all of your specific factions motifs. So that way you have them all to unlock. But those things sell from anywhere from, say, 2,000 gold to 10,000 gold a piece, if it's the boots or chest or whatever it is. And so that's another way to make money down there.
Yeah, it's just a little bit, but it adds up at the end of the day.
It really does. Yeah, you could find out in like an hour's time being down there between all the different revenue streams that you have between Telvar, key frags, motifs that dropped, and then the ornates and intricates that you're selling, and stuff like that. Like you end up coming away really well, and you're like, that hour I might have made 200,000 gold, or 100,000 gold. I don't know what other activities in the game that I can make 100,000 gold in an hour, other than lucking out and finding some rare or random drop or something like that, But all of this too is a byproduct of just leveling in the sewers. This is all a byproduct of just leveling a character. And I don't think that you get this byproduct if you're leveling your character elsewhere, in the world. So, something else too is learning how to fight one-on-one and learning how to fight outnumbered. And there's different ways to do that stuff. I think those are skills that you come into if you're queuing for your daily BGs and you're tackling different aspects every time you get there. I normally have a checklist of things that I want to accomplish in a BG, if I'm testing a build or testing a whatever. And if you're trying to get better at PvP, use your battlegrounds in that capacity, trying to get better at fighting one-on-one or trying to get better at fighting outnumbered. And we will get people that will ask us, how do we 1vx? And my easy answer is, if you can queue for a battleground and run around by yourself in the battleground and come out of the battleground with more kills than deaths, you might be that much closer to 1vxing. You have no teammates to rely on, no outside additional healing. It's just you versus the two other teams for the most part. And how do you fare? And then not how do you survive, because it'd be easy to avoid confrontation. There should be times where you throw yourself into outnumbered situations and see how you hold up. I do that same process testing builds. I want to see how the build holds up and how it recovers, and what ultimates bring more value to the table in what moment. And but all of those lessons you're learning by doing your daily BGs and testing yourself and getting better, add up to, as you're in the sewers leveling, those random encounters you run into, you're going to be that much better off surviving that. Icy had a point where it was a turning point for him, a couple turning points, but one being when he started blocking. He just commented about this earlier today, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. As you started blocking more, you realized that I take immensely less, so much less damage, blocking. And then the other thing was when you started using line of sight.
Yeah. It's as if I automatically became a good player. Who thought? Who'd think it?
Yeah, running around this tree 10 times. Look at me, I'm 1vxing, ma.
Yeah, right. And it's kind of interesting too, because even when you're fighting the banners, for example, whenever they hit you with a light attack, even on Senna, who's maxed out on resistances, a light attack will hit me for 6k.
Yeah.
But if I block it, it comes down to like 50. It's a little bit under 6k, but when I block it, it's about 2.5 ish, just under 3k. That's a significant difference just blocking
Yeah.
provides. So
Yeah. So block casting your abilities and using line of sight, those are things that you can really get good at in low level BGs, just doing your dailies along the way. And then you can actually implement those lessons in the sewers as you're leveling and running into people or hunting, whatever you decide to do. But and then fighting outnumbered and learning how to use your surroundings. If there's 10 people down, I made this mistake earlier today. There was like 10. I was on a DC character and there was 10 AD or however many, 10 EP. They were down fighting Molag Bal or fighting banners or whatever, and they were taking a lot of damage. And against, it's not against my better judgment. I was hoping for a better outcome, is what it was, but they were all really low. So I thought, oh, now's my chance to jump on them, So I go down there, I kill one of them, and then I try and put damage into the next one. Didn't realize he was a Nightblade. He cloaks and disappears before I could kill him. Well, now I'm standing down in the open, no possible line of sight around me, and all of them now, they do exactly what they're supposed to do. They target me. They forget about the NPCs and they target the player character, another player. And so now I have to go in full evasive maneuver and I have to recover from the damage that's coming in and figure out how I'm going to line of sight, funnel these people, and how I'm going to burst them down by myself. And so that scenario was not a smart or good scenario for me. The better play would have been to try and kill the one dude that was super low from ranged, and then see if I could bait any of them to come up and fight me in the tunnels, running in and around at the corners, and use things like that. And so, anyways, how you use your surroundings and fighting outnumbered is super important. So, I think that, what else do you have about that? Do you have anything that you,
mm, like fighting outnumbered in general.
yeah, well, or just even leveling down in the sewers and different things that we touch base on? I think fighting outnumbered is probably an important, you don't want every single time that you fight outnumbered, you're just going to die and you have no hope of surviving. So I think at least having a basic understanding of how to fight outnumbered and use your surroundings, use your, run like hell. Icy's, if you're with people, you don't have to be faster than the enemy. You just got to be faster than the other people in your group.
I thought you were gonna say you just gotta be faster than Icy because he's gonna be running for his life if we're
Well,
being chased by a Zerg.
if you're faster than Icy, you're one of the fastest people in the group then, because Icy's got wheels. So
Yeah, yeah. Especially now that I got Ring of the Wild Hunt on.
yeah,
But I mean, I think it also just comes down to just analyzing the pre-fight, I guess I'll call it, right? If we see people, if we're just coming out of if we're approaching middle Molag Bal Center, and we're in stealth, and we see these guys fighting some banners on there, assess the situation. See who's in your group. Are you solo or you're not solo? Who's got their ultimates up? how are you going to play it out? We're going to wait for somebody to get low, then we'll jump in. Or we'll wait till they kill Moloch Ball, and then right when he's about to explode, they're all going to get hit, and then we'll jump at them at that point and take it from there. So, and also another thing, I think this was in a moment that we had several months ago. It was Senna and Storm Metro, and we came upon a 15-man Zerg at middle, and the only way we could fight them was to try to lure them back into the smaller corridors, and then hopefully we fight a small group that came off to meet us. And we were successful in getting a small contingent, but only 3 or 4 people came. We killed them, and then they rest back at base, and then everybody just stayed at middle, just like told you not to leave. Don't know what you guys were thinking, but yeah, just trying to, I think, analyze, or my say would be try to analyze the situation before you go into a fight, and try not to be so bloodlust and dive in and you get yourself killed or the whole team killed just because you didn't take 5 seconds to just kind of figure things out. So
Yeah, I agree. As far as leveling in the sewers, though, I think that's it. We talked about the gear and all the prep that you would do for it. And as long as you do those things, I think you'll be fine. A lot of people do not want to level in the sewers because there is potential PvP. And I think if you're going to do your daily BGs and get better at PvP, get rid of the nerves and get used to that random encounter, and if it's a group and you get zerged down by a group, you get zerged down by a group. Maybe it's time to call in some friends, and see if you
also, yeah, and speaking of that, I know you were talking about if you see a lobby, just kill him. Again, also with that, there's a consequence because if we're in our lobbies and you kill us, we're gonna log off, switch to our normal tunes, and we're gonna run you down. So just
yeah,
be careful who you kill if you see somebody on their lobby because they might be coming back in the next 3 minutes to gun you down. So
yeah, yeah. Sometimes there's consequences to it, and that's part of the game, right? That's part of the excitement, I guess. So
I often say most time there's no consequence because I think we're the only ones who log off and log back on with our regular guys and run them down.
yeah,
So
especially when they teabag, there's no need to be teabagging people, and when they teabag, like I'm on a level 18 and this 5-star general, Nightblade, 810 CP Nightblade kills me and then bags me. Really, dude? Really?
after a 5 minute fight,
After a 5-minute fight? Yeah, really? Yeah,
like you squared up with a level 18. Congratulations.
yeah, I can't wait to. Uh, all EP Nightblades have to die now because I didn't get that guy's name. Sorry.
And we might never. So this vendetta will most likely go on forever.
Yeah, I just think that that's silly, and he's going to teabag a level 18. And so if you're out there and you kill a level 20, a level 30 or whatever, you don't need to teabag them. You don't need to flex on them. Like they might not even have proper gear on. Wow, how tough are you? They might not even have their ability set up to what they're going to be. It's not that you're so awesome and they're so weak. It's like they're a lowbie and they're not in the right neighborhood. Get them out of there. It's as simple as that. You don't have to teabag them also.
Yeah. And also, if say it's not one of us and like an actual new person trying to check out the sewers, what do you think that kind of message is sending? Right? Like, why am I getting teabagged by this somebody I don't even know? I just started this game. I'm level 25. What the heck is this? Is everybody here this toxic down here?
Yeah.
So,
Yep. But
aside from that, I think that's everything. Any
yeah,
final words or?
if you guys have any questions about leveling in the sewers or you want to run together, IC and I have AD and DC and EP. We have every faction. We have characters on those. If you want to see what we do in the sewers, you're more than welcome to come with us. We'll run around, kill people, get killed together, whatever. Just leave a comment and let us know. We are on PCNA, but if you guys are interested in any other topics about leveling in the sewers, let us know, and or you have questions and we'll try and answer them there. And then we got a special guest for next week. We're actually recording tomorrow morning, right? Is that
Yes. That is
okay?
the current plan. Hopefully things will go that way.
Yeah. So should I tell him who?
Is there going to be an expectation where they say, "Hey, what happened to this guy? Oh, things fell through, whatever, blah blah blah." So I like to just
Yeah.
keep it open ended so we don't set the wrong message of like, "Hey, we're gonna get Papa on," and then Papa's like, "Ah, I'm quitting the game" or something like that. All right, I guess.
Oh, that conversation would never happen.
Definitely wouldn't happen.
Yeah. So tune in next week to see who our special guest is. So, but I can tell you it's another great content creator who is very good at fighting outnumbered.
And with that, I think we'll see you on the next one. See ya.
See ya. You're going to say bye-bye, Argonians.
Bye bye, Rogonian.